Have you ever placed your trust in someone, only to discover that they weren't who you thought they were? The sting of betrayal is a universal experience, one that leaves us questioning not just others, but also ourselves. How could we have missed the signs? What does this say about our ability to perceive others clearly? While painful, these moments hold profound lessons. They remind us that not everyone we encounter has our best interests at heart, and that discernment is a skill we must cultivate to protect our peace and navigate the complexities of life. In Buddhist philosophy, mindfulness is not simply a practice of inner calm. It's a way of seeing the world as it truly is. At the heart of this lies discernment, the ability to perceive reality without illusion. Discernment is what allows us to distinguish sincerity from deceit, light from shadow, and truth from pretense. It's not about becoming cynical or distrusting, but about walking through life with eyes open and a heart grounded in compassion. Today, we'll delve into the 7 signals that can help us recognize bad and fake people. But this journey isn't just about identifying negativity in others. It's also about reflecting on our own actions and intentions. As we uncover these signals, we'll see how they act as mirrors, revealing areas where we too can grow stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. This exploration will be more than just a list of traits. It's a story, a narrative that weaves practical wisdom with timeless teachings. Through the journey of a young seeker tasked with uncovering these signals, we'll not only learn how to recognize deceit, but also how to deepen our own clarity and resilience. As we embark on this path together, remember that the ultimate goal is not judgment but understanding. By cultivating awareness, we don't just protect ourselves from harm, we also open the door to greater peace and connection with the world around us. So, are you ready to embark on this journey of awakening? To discover how these 7 signals can transform the way you see yourself and others? Let's begin. The path awaits. A seeker's journey. In the heart of a serene mountain monastery, where the mist danced gently over ancient stone pathways, the young seeker felt a mix of excitement and apprehension as she prepared to embark on her journey. The master's instructions had been simple, yet their meaning felt vast and enigmatic. How could she, a novice in the ways of the world, uncover such profound truths? Her journey began in a bustling market town, where merchants called out to passers-by. Children laughed as they played, and the air buzzed with the vibrant hum of life. It was here that she first encountered the complexities of human nature. She observed the merchants, listening to their words and watching their actions, searching for the subtle dissonances between what they promised and what they delivered. As she moved from town to town, the seeker found herself in conversations that left her both intrigued and unsettled. There were those whose words carried sweetness, but whose eyes betrayed ulterior motives. Others seemed genuine, but left her questioning their true intentions. Each encounter added another thread to the tapestry of her understanding. In quiet moments, under starlit skies, or beside gentle streams, she reflected on her master's cryptic instructions. Was this journey merely about observing others? Or was it, in some profound way, a mirror reflecting her own heart? The seeker began to realize that the clarity she sought in others could only emerge if she first cultivated it within herself. Her path wasn't without challenges. She encountered deceit that stung her soul and kindness that uplifted her spirit. Slowly, patterns began to emerge, subtle signals in behavior, tone, and actions that revealed more about people than their words ever could. It was as though the world had become a book, and she was learning to read its hidden language. With each passing day, the seeker grew not only wiser but also more compassionate. She began to understand that discerning truth was not about judgment, but about awareness. And as her journey unfolded, she realized the answers she sought were intricately tied to the questions she asked herself. Signal 1: misaligned words and actions. The seeker's journey led her to a lively market square, where the scent of spices and the clamor of bargaining voices filled the air. There, she encountered a merchant renowned for his eloquence and supposed benevolence. Standing atop a wooden platform, he addressed a crowd, speaking passionately about his many acts of charity. He claimed to have fed the hungry and provided shelter for the destitute. His words painted a picture of a man whose heart overflowed with kindness. Intrigued, the seeker decided to observe him more closely. She watched as he interacted with his employees, men and women who carried heavy loads and worked tirelessly under his command. Their faces bore signs of exhaustion and fear. Their movements rushed as if under constant scrutiny. She noticed the complaints of his customers, frustrated by overpriced goods and unmet promises. The merchant's words spoke of virtue, but his actions told a different story. Feeling compelled to understand, the seeker approached him one evening as the market quieted. "Master Merchant," she began, "your words are like honey, sweet and generous. But why do your actions cause bitterness and pain?" The merchant faltered, his confident demeanor crumbling under the weight of her question. He muttered an excuse before retreating, unable to reconcile his rhetoric with his reality. This encounter left the seeker with a profound realization. Words alone are not enough. True integrity is the harmony between what we say and what we do. She reflected on her own life, vowing to ensure her actions mirrored her intentions. For only through this alignment can one build trust, not just with others, but with oneself. Signal 2. Excessive flattery. In a quiet library filled with the scent of aged parchment, the seeker encountered a scholar revered for his intellect. His reputation as a man of profound wisdom had drawn students and admirers from far and wide. When the seeker approached, he welcomed her with an outpouring of compliments. "Ah, such grace and insight," he said, his tone rich with admiration. "Your presence is a blessing, and your mind must surely be one of the sharpest I've encountered." Though his words were pleasant, their excess felt rehearsed, leaving the seeker with a sense of unease. Over the next few days, the scholar continued to shower her with praise, lauding her intelligence and foresight. Then, during an evening discussion, he presented her with a proposal. "I am working on a project that will benefit countless lives," he said. "With your exceptional judgment and heart for the greater good, perhaps you'd consider investing in it. Your support would be invaluable." The seeker paused, recalling her master's teachings. "Beware of those whose words flow too sweetly, for their intent may not be pure." She observed the scholar's demeanor, noting his persistence and subtle pressure. His praise had not been a reflection of her worth, but a strategy to gain her trust. She declined politely and excused herself. As she walked away, the seeker reflected on the lesson. Flattery can cloud judgment, feeding the ego while obscuring the truth. True self-worth, she realized, is built not on external validation, but on the quiet confidence of knowing oneself. From that day forward, she vowed to remain discerning, valuing sincerity over empty praise. Signal 3. Gossip. In a picturesque village nestled among rolling hills, the seeker encountered a kind-hearted woman who invited her into her home. The woman's hospitality was warm and genuine, and her tea was fragrant and soothing. As they sat by the hearth, their conversation began with light-hearted stories about the village and its people. However, as the hours passed, the woman's tone shifted. She began sharing tales of her neighbors' shortcomings, recounting their failures and questionable decisions. "You wouldn't believe what the baker did last week," she said, her voice tinged with both amusement and judgment. At first, the seeker dismissed these remarks as harmless chatter, assuming they stemmed from boredom or an effort to keep the conversation flowing. But as the days unfolded, the seeker observed the ripple effect of the woman's words. The stories she spread sowed mistrust and tension among the villagers. Conversations grew strained, and bonds that once seemed unbreakable began to fray. The seeker realized the harm that idle gossip could cause, even when delivered with no apparent malice. One evening, she gently addressed the woman. "You have a kind heart," she began, "but I wonder, if we speak ill of others, what does it say about the state of our own spirit?" The woman paused, her expression shifting from defensiveness to quiet reflection. Her silence was an acknowledgement of the seeker's wisdom. The seeker left with a deeper understanding of the power of words. They are not mere sounds. They are seeds that grow into connection or discord. From that moment, she resolved to speak with intention, using her voice as a tool for healing and unity rather than division. Signal 4. Inconsistent behavior. During her travels, The seeker met a young artist who was known for his charisma and creativity. His paintings were vivid expressions of life, and his words carried a charm that captivated everyone he met. Whether in a bustling marketplace or a quiet inn, people were drawn to his magnetic personality. At first, the seeker admired his ability to connect with others so effortlessly. But as time went on, she began to notice a troubling pattern. His demeanor shifted depending on whom he interacted with. When speaking to wealthy patrons, he was courteous and attentive, showering them with compliments. Yet, with the innkeeper or the servants who brought his meals, his tone became dismissive, even condescending. Intrigued, the seeker decided to observe him more closely. She noticed how his words and actions varied, like a chameleon adapting to its surroundings, but with a clear lack of authenticity. It became evident that his kindness was often calculated, not genuine, tailored to suit his own interests. One evening, as they shared a meal, the seeker gently asked, "Why do you change with the wind? Is your true self so uncertain that it must shift to please others?" The artist paused for a moment, then shrugged, avoiding the question altogether. His unwillingness to confront his duplicity left her with a poignant realization. True authenticity, the seeker reflected, lies in being steadfast in your values and character, no matter the audience. Consistency builds not only trust with others, but also inner peace. She vowed to embody this principle in her own life, ensuring that her actions and words reflected her genuine self, regardless of circumstance. Signal 5. Reluctance to apologize. In a prosperous town bustling with activity, the seeker encountered a leader renowned for his commanding presence and celebrated achievements. His decisions shaped the lives of many, and his followers revered him for his charisma and authority. Yet, as she observed him in action, the seeker noticed a troubling trait beneath his polished exterior. During a meeting with his advisors, the leader made a miscalculation that disrupted a key project. The error was clear, and some of his subordinates hesitated before respectfully pointing it out. Instead of acknowledging the mistake, he shifted the blame to his team, accusing them of providing inadequate information. The atmosphere in the room grew tense as the advisors exchanged uneasy glances but dared not challenge him further. The seeker, unable to ignore the situation, approached the leader afterward. "Great leader," she began, her voice steady but kind. "Your position commands respect, but true strength lies in humility, not denial. Admitting a mistake is not a weakness, it is a mark of wisdom and courage." The leader scoffed, dismissing her words with a wave of his hand. Yet, the seeker could see through the facade of his pride, a fragile ego unwilling to face its own imperfections. Reflecting on the encounter, the seeker realized how the refusal to apologize stems from a fear of vulnerability. She reminded herself that to admit fault is not to diminish oneself, but to grow stronger through self-awareness and accountability. From that day forward, she resolved to embrace humility, recognizing that apologies are bridges to understanding and opportunities for personal growth. Signal 6. Exploiting vulnerabilities. In a quiet village nestled at the edge of a forest, the seeker came across a healer whose reputation had spread far and wide. People from neighboring towns traveled great distances to seek his remedies for ailments of the body and mind. His clinic was always bustling, filled with patients eager for relief and hope. The healer presented himself as a figure of wisdom and compassion, speaking softly and exuding an air of authority. Yet, as the seeker observed his interactions, a troubling reality began to emerge. While the healer's remedies brought some comfort, his fees were exorbitant, often forcing families into financial hardship. Those who hesitated were met with veiled warnings, reminding them of the consequences of untreated illnesses. One afternoon, the seeker watched as a mother pleaded with the healer to lower his price so she could afford treatment for her child. He dismissed her request with a calm yet firm refusal, stating that quality care came at a cost. The seeker's heart ached at the sight, and she decided to confront him. "If your gift is to heal," she asked, "why do you add to the burden of those who are already suffering?" The healer shifted uncomfortably, avoiding her gaze and offering no response. Reflecting on the encounter, The seeker understood the profound importance of compassion. True strength lies in using one's abilities to uplift and support others, not in exploiting their weaknesses. She resolved to embody this principle, ensuring that her own actions would always be guided by kindness and the desire to alleviate suffering rather than deepen it. Signal 7. Resistance to accountability. As the seeker approached the end of her journey, she found herself in a renowned monastery where a mentor was celebrated for his deep wisdom and transformative teachings. Disciples gathered around him daily, hanging on to his every word, their admiration evident in their devoted expressions. His reputation as an enlightened guide seemed well-earned, as his lectures were filled with profound insights. However, as the seeker spent time observing him, a disquieting pattern began to emerge. During a discussion, one of his senior disciples respectfully offered a suggestion to refine a teaching method. The mentor's expression hardened, and he dismissed the comment with a curt response, subtly questioning the disciple's understanding. On another occasion, a junior monk pointed out a minor inconsistency in one of his lectures, only to be met with thinly veiled irritation. The seeker decided to approach the mentor herself. "You are revered as a guide for others," she began. "But if you resist accountability, how can you continue to grow in your own wisdom?" The mentor scoffed, brushing off her words as unnecessary critique. Yet, in that moment, the seeker saw clearly that his refusal to accept feedback stemmed from a fear of vulnerability, a reluctance to confront imperfections that all beings share. Reflecting on the experience, the seeker understood that accountability is not a threat but a gift, a chance to refine oneself and evolve. She vowed to welcome feedback in her own life, recognizing it as the chisel that shapes the stone of wisdom. True growth, she realized, requires the courage to embrace correction and the humility to continually learn. A mirror for the soul. After many moons of wandering, learning, and reflecting, the seeker returned to the monastery. The familiar serenity of the mountains embraced her, and the quiet whispers of the wind seemed to welcome her home. Her heart was full, not only with the stories she had gathered, but with the lessons those stories had carved into her soul. Sitting once more in the presence of her master, the seeker recounted each of the 7 signals she had discovered. She spoke of the merchant whose words of virtue were betrayed by his actions, the scholar whose flattery was a tool of manipulation, and the woman whose gossip sowed division. She described the artist whose inconsistency revealed a lack of authenticity, the leader whose pride blinded him to the strength in humility, the healer who exploited others' vulnerabilities, and the mentor whose resistance to accountability masked his fear of growth. The master listened intently, his eyes warm with understanding. When the seeker finished, he spoke with a gentle smile. "You have not only seen others, my child, but you have also seen yourself. These signals you observed in others are reflections of the very challenges we all face. Each one is a mirror, showing us where we too can grow. The journey outward is always a journey inward." The seeker felt a wave of clarity wash over her. She realized that her journey had never been about judging others or merely identifying their flaws. Instead, it was about cultivating her own awareness, compassion, and strength. Every encounter had been an opportunity to reflect on her own values and actions, to question whether she was truly living in alignment with the wisdom she sought. She thought of the times she had faltered, moments when her words and actions had not fully aligned, when she had sought validation from others instead of trusting her inner worth, or when she had hesitated to embrace feedback that could have helped her grow. Each signal she had identified in others became a call to examine herself more deeply, to ensure that she walked her own path with integrity and grace. Her master's words echoed in her mind. Discernment is not about separating yourself from others. It is about connecting more deeply with truth. By recognizing insincerity, you do not judge. It is compassion that guides you to step aside from harm and, when possible, help others see their own shadows. The seeker understood now that the ultimate purpose of her journey was self-realization. The signals were not merely warnings about others, they were guideposts for her own evolution. She resolved to carry these lessons forward, not as tools for judgment, but as a means to cultivate wisdom and compassion in herself and others. As she bowed before her master, gratitude filled her heart. She knew her journey was far from over. It was a lifelong path, one of mindful discernment, inner growth, an unwavering connection to truth, and she was ready to walk it with eyes open and a heart unburdened. Life is a journey filled with connections, challenges, and opportunities for growth. Along the way, the 7 signals act as guideposts, helping us navigate the complexities of human interaction. They remind us to align our words and actions, to build self-worth from within rather than seeking external validation, and to use our words with intention to heal rather than harm. These principles encourage us to embrace authenticity, to apologize with humility, and to act with compassion rather than exploiting the vulnerabilities of others. Above all, they teach us that accountability is not a burden but a pathway to growth. By recognizing these signals in others, we learn to protect ourselves from harm while cultivating a deeper understanding of our own hearts. Each signal is not merely a lens through which we view the world, but a mirror reflecting our own areas for growth. This journey of discernment, far from being about judgment, is a practice of self-realization, an invitation to strengthen our clarity, compassion, and inner peace. As you walk your own path, let these lessons guide you. Choose truth over pretense, kindness over division, and growth over stagnation. Let your awareness be your guiding light, illuminating the way toward deeper connections and a life rooted in wisdom. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more insights. Share your own experiences with discernment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. May your journey be one of truth, kindness, and unwavering growth.